Good morning, everyone, and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am located at 1563 Main Street in lovely Peckville, Pennsylvania, and I am right here with you each and every week at this time on this station to give you, the Pennsylvania landowner, the information that you need regarding oil and gas development. And of course, and as always, I, Doug Clark, have not, do not, and will not represent gas or pipeline companies. I never have, and I never, ever will. I am here to help the Pennsylvania landowner in any way I can, and I represent clients for such things as oil and gas lease negotiations, oil and gas lease reviews and consultations, pipeline, water line agreements, surface use agreements, estate planning issues, doing a lot more of that, unitization issues. Are you properly unitized? Shut-in issues. Are you improperly held by shut-in year after year after year? Meter sites, compressor agreements, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about this some today, solar leases. I have branched out, and I'm doing solar leases, negotiating, working on solar leases on behalf of Pennsylvania landowners. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of overlaps between solar leasing and oil and gas leasing, but of course, there are substantial differences, which I'll talk about today. But of course, this solar topic is much larger than anything I can discuss in a single show. But let me say, and this may surprise you, if you're given a solar lease agreement, a solar option agreement, what do? Put the pen down, pick up the phone, give me a call, 570-307-0702. Now go ahead and listen. Hear what the person has to say. Hear what the landman who works for the solar company, not you, the landowner, has to say. But make no commitments. Do not negotiate compensation. Do you have any idea what a reasonable compensation is for a solar lease? Do you have any idea what a reasonable compensation is for a solar lease in your area, in your specific area? Do you know those things? Most likely you don't, because you've never experienced this before. How many times do we say, let's never repeat the gas leasing mistakes? Same thing happening here. Now, maybe not to the same degree where they're starting off in gas leasing offering people $5 and it goes up to $5,000, but I can tell you, I have reviewed multiple solar leases on behalf of clients, and there are substantial differences in the documents themselves, and at times substantial differences in how compensation is structured and how it's going to be paid. There are substantial differences. So you do not want to be the person who signs the worst possible solar lease. You don't want to leave hundreds potentially of dollars per acre on the table because you didn't know that was possible. And again, think about it. Anytime we have these new agreements that are handed out to the community, it is a prime opportunity to take advantage of the community, in my opinion. And what I mean by that, here's what I mean by it. People don't know. So when you give them an agreement today and they've never seen it before, they don't know if they should have better terms in the agreement. Now, 5 years from now, fast forward, where solar leases have been negotiated and entered into for the past 5 years. Well, then we will have a look back, the hindsight of 2020. How did you do? And how do you think that a person who's never seen a solar lease, who's never negotiated a solar lease, who doesn't necessarily understand all the terms of the solar lease, how are they going to do in compensation? And how are they going to do as far as limiting the rights of the company, protecting themselves? How are they doing relative to the gas company? How do you think that's going to work out? And if you have entered into this agreement with counsel, with understanding, somebody who knows what they're doing, who can help you, I'm going to tell you, I have a strong suspicion that group of people is going to do considerably better than the group that says, oh, okay, I'll handle this. I can handle this. Oh, these numbers aren't bad. This seems good. And I'll tell you, I've had that experience where I reviewed a solar lease for someone. I said, holy heck, I understand maybe that you think this is good to sign, but I'm going to tell you, I have a laundry list of issues that you should consider, at least consider, some of them being awfully darned important, you need to consider seriously before you sign. And here's an example. There was no indemnification in the agreement. None. So if people from the company go on the property during the course that this agreement is in effect, which could be years, they get hurt, somebody else gets hurt, guess who's going to be sued? Well, there's a very good chance you are, and you don't have indemnity or liability coverage, meaning that if you're ever found to be responsible for everything, anything, no matter how unlikely you may think that would be, you can be on the hook for substantial damages. Now, let's say a best case scenario. You get sued, you have no indemnification or liability protection from the company, but you don't think you did anything wrong, and let's say you didn't, but you have been sued. You can't ignore it. You have to defend it. You have to file a motion to dismiss. You have to file briefs. You have to potentially do discovery. You have to potentially defend yourself at trial. Think about the money that's going to cost you. Think about the stress, the inconvenience. And all of that could have been avoided. And again, God forbid if you have any liability, but all of that could have been avoided if you negotiated in or had added into this agreement a fair and appropriate indemnification provision. But it wasn't there. Why would a company not put an indemnification into an agreement that they plan to operate under? Blows my mind. I don't understand it. That's easy. I get fired up when I say, geez, you don't even include indemnification in your agreement, but yet you tell me and you tell my landowner client how great you are. Well, if you're so great, why would you give somebody an agreement that doesn't have indemnification language in there? If you're so great, why wouldn't you guarantee this person that they won't be sued, and if they are sued, you'll pay for it, you'll defend them? Why would we even have to ask for that? That's elementary. So I have a hard time when companies say, oh, we're such a great company. Well, your lease, whether it be oil, gas, pipeline, solar, better darn well have an indemnification provision in it to protect the landowner. That is elementary. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. I'm talking about solar. Doing more and more with solar. I have several active open solar files now where there's solar lease agreements across, in different areas of Pennsylvania, Tioga, Bradford, different areas. Wyoming County, I have a client. It's very interesting, but again, this is these are serious contracts. This is not something you say, oh, okay, give me the pen. No, these are serious contracts, and they can involve hundreds of acres. Sometimes they involve much smaller amounts of acres. You also have to realize, how does this solar lease interact with any active gas lease I have? You better darn well know. You also better not just go, look, general advice, not specific advice for anyone, but generally, don't go sign in a solar lease agreement if you have a gas lease and you don't know what your gas company has to say, because you don't want to be on the hook with any liability to the solar company. You have to be careful. Very, very careful. And if you're in a position that you don't have a gas lease, you say, I don't even have a gas lease. Let me just hurry up and go ahead and sign. Well, first off, let me go ahead and hurry up and sign should never be in your head or in your mouth or out of your mouth. But you also want to make sure that you're preserving future abilities or options for you to enter into future gas leases or maybe even pipeline agreements. Again, not even to mention the amount of money people are being offered is different. And they all have confidentiality agreements, so that's why I'm not going to talk about how much. But here's the thing. I know how much because I see these documents. I negotiate with the companies. I know what different companies are offering. I can't talk about it, but I know. And you as a landowner aren't going to know these things. But I'm going to tell you, you have the ability to call, schedule a review, consultation, representation, whatever, and I can give you an idea. I can't disclose terms and other agreements, but I can assess your agreement. I can tell you what I think about it. I can tell you where the good and the bad is. It comes back to, if you are not doing a review and consultation at minimum when you get offered a gas lease, a pipeline agreement, a surface use agreement, compression agreement, storage agreement, you name it, roadway, solar lease agreement, you are making a mistake. You need to know what you're signing. You need to know, should I be getting more money? Should I be getting more money? Can I get more money? You need to know those things. And how can I limit the company's rights? Where may I be making a mistake if I sign this agreement? Get that information. Then, if you want to sign, you go ahead and sign. But do not simply sign blind. Don't sign a lease that you think is good for a solar lease, and later on you find out someone got hurt in your property and you're getting sued and you got to pay for your defense. Don't put yourself in that position. A phone call takes care of that. A review and consultation takes care of that. Don't sign for, I don't even want to say numbers. Don't sign for something where you could get hundreds of dollars more per acre per year. Don't sign something whenever you maybe have the ability to do a percentage escalation clause each year when you don't even know that exists. You might not even know what that is. Don't sign. Put down the pen, pick up the phone, call the Clark Law Firm, do a review, consultation at minimum, and then decide what you want to do. Again, gas lease, pipeline agreements, oh boy, amendments and ratifications. Call the office. 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. We'll talk more about solar agreements, but I want to get this in the front end. Tioga County, Seneca, you're getting the letters. The leases have been shifted. You've got the letters. Sign the W-9, all of these things. So I'm not going to give specific advice about signing the W-9s or not. I think it depends a lot on when your lease was, the timing. Not going to get specific of that. But I'm going to tell you this. I got a lot of calls. Hey, we got this in the mail from Seneca. And I'm going to say this. Great job. Call. You can't make a mistake calling. Call and find out. Call and find out. Because I'm telling you what. The next thing, guys, pay attention. The next set of documents, in my opinion, my prediction, are going to be a lot different. Much more important. Much more. Much, much more. I've preached it for a year now. Those leases, Tioga leases held by the shut-in vertical wells, many of them, in my opinion, many, I believe hundreds, have expired. So Seneca has received these leases, which I think, again, many of them are not valid. So what are they going to do if they think like me, which I think they do? I could be wrong. They are going to start sending out or coming to people's doors with amendments and ratifications. Amendments and ratifications. Think of the wolf in sheep's clothing. Hey, we want to give you some money. We want to give you this. We want to give you that. And it's not going to be a lot. And the more it is, the more your eyebrows should raise. So that's why they don't want to give you a lot. Hey, we feel bad. Sweppy treated you bad. We're going to be great guys. Hey, we need you to sign this. We're going to give you some money. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing here. But I think that's going to happen. I think. And if it does, and you sign that paperwork, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you. Because you may actually not have a lease. And you just revived or ratified your lease to say that you do have a lease, which means that you may have missed out on new per acre bonuses, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars there, sometimes even more, depending upon your acreage. You also missed out almost certainly on an opportunity to increase your royalty percentage. You're under a 12.5% lease, full deductions. You've lost the opportunity, if you sign a ratification and revive this dead lease, you've lost the opportunity to negotiate a new lease, not only for bonus, but also for royalty percentage, and maybe even too for how your royalties are calculated. You must not simply sign these documents. Don't get lured in with, oh, well, hey, I got this first letter. They want a W-9. That all sounds nice. Here, let me sign it and turn it in. Well, the next letter may not be so innocuous, if that one is innocuous. You need to be very careful. You need to be vigilant on what you review and how you review it, and vigilant on putting the pen down. Pick up the phone, any documents. They are, I have no doubt about it, going to go out and seek ratifications. Whether they call those ratifications in a direct title of the document or they bury it in the document, I fully expect that we're going to see that. Fully expect it. Fully. And again, if you sign that, that is a shame, because you have the potential to do something very great, not only for you now, but for your family in the future. Then, again, you throw in the solar to the mix. Who knows what opportunities you have? So this is a really interesting time, especially in Tioga County. It is a fascinating time because we have these leases that were signed literally, not exaggerating, 20 years ago, that have never seen royalty, that have never seen a horizontal well, that have never seen a pipeline connected to the vertical well. And they signed 20 years ago. Many of those leases, again, are, in my opinion, terminated. Do not let Seneca off the hook. No offense, Seneca. But remember, Shell or Sweppy bought these assets originally for like $4.5 billion and then sold them for $500 million. Now, again, just those numbers would say a $4 billion loss. Why did Seneca only pay around $500 million for something Sweppy bought for $5.5 billion? How come? Well, my opinion, I think I'm right, because many of these leases are dead, terminated. And the more we allow them to revive and ratify these leases, the more you do that, the better deal you make it for Seneca. So listen, there's going to be people that do it, but here's the thing. No one that does it should be a listener of this radio show. All of my listeners, all of these listeners, everybody out there, you should not be the ones who do it. We can't stop everybody, but anyone who listens to this show should know I am not going to do it. I'm putting the pen down. I'm going to give Doug a call, and let's at least do a review and consultation to find out what's going on. 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. Call before signing anything. You can never make a mistake by calling the office. You can't make a mistake by calling my office and getting information. And if you don't like what you hear, that's okay. But get information. I am here to work for you. I don't work for companies. Maybe you've heard this. I never have. I never will. I work for you. I want you to do the best you possibly can, and I want to use my experience in dealing with oil, gas, pipeline companies, and now solar companies to work for you, So give me a call, 570-307-0702. Keep listening to All Things Marcellus each and every week at this time on this station. I'll be right back. Hey, this is only segment 1. We got a lot more to go. Be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, I represent landowners and only landowners. I have not, will not, and do not represent gas or pipeline companies. I am here to help you, the Pennsylvania landowner, and we do this show each and every week. Look, I've now been doing this show for over 10 years. Think about that. I have been doing All Things Marcellus now for over 10 years. And I certainly hope that we have educated a lot of landowners. I know that we have helped a lot of landowners. So keep listening. I'm not stopping. We're going to keep on talking. I'm going to tell you again, Tioga County. I think that we are in the calm before the storm. We are in the eye of the hurricane where it's nice and calm. But I expect, especially starting out in 2021, but maybe earlier, that we are going to see a flurry of activity. A flurry of activity. And as I talk about, and I talk all the time, I think that a huge part of that is going to be Seneca seeking ratifications from Tioga landowners that Seneca received their lease from SWEPI. They are going to want you to ratify your lease. Rat. They are going to want you to say that you have a valid lease as of the date you're signing it. Guys, put that pen down. Any document that you get from Seneca, break out the microscope. Nope, no. Break out the electron microscope. Go through every single word. And when you see that word, ratification, if the pen is in your hand, it should be on fire. Drop it. Do not sign. Ratification is not good for you unless you know why you're signing it. I am terrified that hundreds upon hundreds of people in Tioga County are going to sign ratifications, not understanding what they're doing. I am terrified. You may think this is crazy. It may sound crazy. It bothers me at night. I am terrified because I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in my home county of Armstrong County where I grew up. I've seen people sign ratifications. I took a case to the Superior Court and we lost. And the judges said the ratification killed us. I mean, let's sum it up. The client signed a ratification and it killed us. It killed them. Not literally, but it killed the whole case. Don't sign ratifications unless you know what the heck you're signing. Please be careful. And like I say, these companies are smart. They even listen to the radio show. They're listening now. So listen, guys, I'm telling the people in Tioga County, put the pen down. Don't sign documents. Don't sign ratifications. So what are you going to do? If I'm you, I'm not going to call the document itself a ratification of lease. I'm going to create some other name, and I'm going to try to bury it in small print in the document. Tioga County landowners, I am telling you this right now. I expect that. So should you. So should you. And if you do see it, call me. But I do mean this. If you don't call me, and I really want you to call me, I have all the faith in the world of what I do, how I do it, and what my motives are. But if you don't call me, call someone who knows what they're doing. The landman, breaking news, works for the company, not you, the landowner. Get somebody working for you. Get someone working for you. I have represented thousands of people at this point. Thousands. Get someone working for you who is going to fight for you, who knows what they're doing, who can cut through all this garbage, tell you what you need to know, and make sure you're getting the most money in the best terms in any agreement that you're presented. You can call my office, but if you don't call my office, call someone's office, again, who knows what they are doing. No offense to divorce lawyers. Don't call a divorce lawyer. My best friend, if he calls me and says, hey, I'm getting a divorce, I want you to help me. I say, here, go talk to this person. Don't talk to a criminal lawyer. Don't talk to a divorce lawyer. Talk to somebody who knows what they're doing about these issues. And solar, Again, I'm working on these solar agreements. Guys, be careful. Be careful. They are extremely complicated. They are extremely complicated. This is a new area. You're not going to go on the internet and find out all this great information that's going to explain to you what you need to do. This is complicated. Get help. You can call me, Clark Law Firm, 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. Or someone who knows what they're doing. One of the things with solar clients that I get, there are several solar companies I've been working with in negotiations with clients. So what do? Say, hey, are you guys, if you get a person who calls and says, hey, I got, I'll make up a number. I have 100 acres in Tioga County. I have a solar offer from this company A. Say, okay, let's look at it. But if this is legitimate, we'll look at it all and say, hey, there's 3 or 4 other companies that may be interested as well. Want to run it by them and see if they have an interest? And then you, as the landowner, may be able to actually shop solar companies to pick the one that is best for you, that has the best deal, that you have the best faith in, that will give you the best terms, that will protect you, and that we can do some research on and say, hey, this company makes a lot of sense. Another company may offer you a little more, but may have a really bad record, may have no history of development. We got to look at all of those things. Again, do not ever be distracted by shiny objects. In this case, the sun. But no, don't be distracted by shiny objects. We have to dig in. You got to dig in. And remember, always put the pen down. Give us a call, 570-307-0702. That's 570-307-0702. So I want to, again, just, actually, I'm going to talk some more about solar leasing for a second. And, I say a lot of times when I do the show, so people may say, look, I don't have a solar lease. I may get a pipeline agreement in the future. I may get a gas lease, but, I don't have one now, and I may never have one. Well, there's a lot of overlap to these things. Let me give you just some examples. So when you have a solar lease, most are constructed where there are different terms, meaning periods of time. So, for example, you may have the first term as an option term. Now, I've done shows on option agreements, but just to say that this term gives the company a period of time to decide if they want to continue to move forward. Now, let me tell you, that is a reasonable position to take because they have to do studies. They have to do surveys. They may have to talk, and they probably do. They got to talk to the electric company. They talk to neighbors, get easements. There's a lot that has to go into this. So an option period is certainly reasonable. However, this is new, and you have just been approached for this. You don't know what you're doing, and very few people do because it's so new. So now you say, listen, I'm very interested in this, but I certainly can't just sign this agreement. Who knows? Maybe it doesn't even have liability protection in it. So what do you say? You say, well, I got to talk to a lawyer. I want to make sure that I'm covered. I'm going to make sure I can do this. I have a gas lease. There's a lot of considerations that can come into play here. So you need to make sure that you're protected. Well, to go to a lawyer, that's going to cost you some money. So you say, wait a second, I'm interested in this, but I don't want to lose money. And then what if it doesn't happen? I call it all the time the option dilemma. So you can't, in my opinion, you can't sign the agreement. You need to get help because I'm telling you, you should not be signing these form agreements. You shouldn't be doing it, just like you shouldn't be doing it with the gas leases. So you should be getting help. So what do we want to do then? Well, we don't want you to lose money, so we want to make sure that your option payment is going to cover all your legal fees. So there's different right there. We want to limit the option time, and we want to get you enough compensation right off the bat to cover legal fees if you sign. Because if they don't use your property, then you're going to be out if you didn't get any money for the option period or very little, or if you got, say, $500 but you got a $600 legal bill, you lost money. So we need to make sure that you're not losing money. We also need to guarantee payment. I saw one thing, and again, this just makes me mad. where a person signs the document and the first payment is not due, the option payment is not due until the end of the first year. So you sign it today, and your first payment, let's say your first payment, I'll make up a number, is $3,000, making that up out of the blue. Your first payment is $3,000. Well, you say, that's great. That's going to more than cover legal fees. It'll put some money in my pocket if this doesn't go through. So you sign, or you say, okay, I'm going to agree with this. So you sign. What you didn't realize is that the agreement doesn't require them to pay you the $3,000 until the end of the first year. And what you didn't realize is that there's a surrender term within this lease that the company can quit the lease, give it up, surrender it at any time up to at any time, just flat out at any time. So day 354, 355, whatever the case may be, the company says, we're not interested in this lease. We're not going to be able to develop it. You don't get your $3,000. It's gone. You don't get it. So even if you didn't deal with an attorney, you dealt with them. They surveyed your property. They accessed your property. They were on your property. You exposed yourself to potential liability in my example, and you got nothing. You got nothing. That's crazy. Again, what kind of company would do that? So that makes me very, very nervous. So those are things you have to know when you're considering this type of an agreement. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Give me a call. Remember, put the pen down, pick up the phone, 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. And keep listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark, each and every week at this time on this station. Segment 2 in the books. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember to join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus, where I bring you, the Pennsylvania landowner, the information you need regarding oil, gas, and today, solar development here in Pennsylvania. And I'm talking about just generally, I'll be doing deeper dives into solar in the future, but talking generally today, number one, first point of advice would be put the pen down, pick up the phone, give me a call. I would also advise you go ahead and listen, because I'm actually optimistic about these agreements. I really am. And I look forward to getting some of these done, and I look forward to watching this develop. But it's just not that simple putting pen to paper. There are a lot of other considerations. Specifically, and again, I will do shows on this. I talked earlier about liability. I've seen a lease or an option agreement offered to a landowner for solar without liability coverage for the owner. That is totally unacceptable. I've seen where the payment for the first payment is not to be made until the end of the first year. All during that time, the company can do their due diligence. They can do their testing, surveying, studying, and decide that they can't use the property, and then they don't have to pay you. They just give it up. So you've lost the money, you lost the time, you've given access to the property, you put a burden on it, and you got nothing, literally nothing. It just cost you, and especially if you had a lawyer, which you need, So we have to look at these issues. So that's just a couple. So let's talk another one. How about difference in money? I have seen differences in money offered at different phases of the agreement. I have seen difference in escalation clauses, meaning if this lease goes on, do you get paid more money over time? And I have seen when these things add up to be substantial differences. But if you don't see multiple agreements and you don't negotiate these agreements, you don't know these things. You don't know these things. So they put these confidentiality terms in all these agreements, so you're not supposed to be discussing. You can't discuss it. Well, if your lawyer knows, he doesn't or she doesn't discuss with you any terms, but they know what to ask for. They know what the rate is. They know what to push for because they've seen what's happened without disclosing any confidentiality. That's how you start to maximize these agreements, and that's what we need to do. You're also agreeing. I see these agreements that says you're granting that there's no mortgage, liens, gas leases even. You got to know. You can't just go signing these documents willy-nilly. You can't be in a position that you grant a solar lease and then turn around and find out that the gas company says you shouldn't have done it. And then, God forbid, that you have a lawsuit by the gas company saying, hey, solar company, you didn't have the right to do this. Landowner, you didn't have the right to grant this to them. You got to be careful. You want to also, if you don't have a lease, you want to make sure that your agreement is giving you future leasing options. So there are a lot of things that you need to consider. Talked to one person. They said, yeah, there's going to have to be a subdivision to make this happen. Well, who's going to pay for that subdivision? When's it going to go? How's it going to occur? All of these things could be a real issue for the person if not addressed. How about, well, we've seen Chesapeake go bankrupt. How about these companies? These companies, when you Google them and you look them up and there's really nothing there, or they're just startup companies. Guys, those are the companies you need to, in my opinion, need to be more concerned about potentially going bankrupt. And we saw that Chesapeake, what happened with them. So when we talk about these solar companies, we have to be careful. Why do we need to be extra careful as well? Well, what if they go out there and put hundreds of solar panels across your property, and then they go bankrupt? They have no money. Who is going to clean up these panels? Where are they going to go? Who is going to reclaim the property? Who is going to dispose of these panels? How much is that going to cost? Well, that is an enormous question that must, I'm going to repeat that, must be addressed. A bond, perhaps, to say the solar company has to put up a bond for reclamation and disposal of these panels and all the other equipment that goes along with it in case they go bankrupt. And I'm going to tell you, that to me is a very, very serious issue. And I've seen one agreement where the company could set on their own prerogative, they could set the bond limit or set the bond amount. Well, what if it's their own decision? You don't even negotiate it. You'll find out later what they decided. Well, what if it's not enough and they go bankrupt? Well, I'm going to tell you, you got a problem. You have a problem, a potentially very serious problem. Or maybe your kids have a problem. But whoever owns that property at that time has a problem. And smart negotiations, doing the work today eliminates the problem. So what do? We put the pen down and we do the work today. Give us a call, 570-307-0702. Find out how long should these different phases of the agreement be? What are reasonable compensation rates at each phase? When is the timing of payments? When should they occur? What type of bonding? What do we need to do there? What type of future uncertainties are we leaving open? You can't do that. You sign a solar lease, you say, oh, okay, this sounds great. And all of a sudden now you have electric poles and wires running off your property, potentially by your house that you never even thought about. Again, the key to these agreements, and it's with pipelines as well and other agreements, we want to maximize the money, but we want to limit the operation scope that the company has. And most importantly, we want to define it. Here's where you can be. Here's where you can't be. Here's how much money you're going to pay. Here's when you're going to pay it. Those are the things. Here's how you're going to protect me for liability. Here's how you're going to reclaim the property. And this is what's going to this is what's going to happen if you go bankrupt. Also, the clean and green protections. Gosh. Think about this, guys. Guys, think about this. Say you have 100-acre solar field and it's removed from clean and green. Well, listen, the companies always are going to put in these agreements, they'll pay back penalties, back taxes and penalties. I should say always, because I seen one recently that said they'll pay rollback taxes that was quiet on penalties. But anyway, 100-acre field with solar panels. Now let's say that 100 acres is now removed from clean and green. Let's say that you at least had the company pay all rollback taxes now and penalties. Now, that 100 acres, this is not going to be like gas leasing where only minimal acres, maybe 5, some smaller number, usually single digits of acres, are removed from clean and green. I anticipate that the full 100 acres would have to be removed from clean and green. Now you're going to get taxed at a different tax rate. And let's be careful because it might be a commercial tax rate. So that commercial tax rate, that could be significantly higher. Significantly higher. What if it's $1,000 an acre? Well, that's $100,000 a year. What if it's $500 an acre? Well, that's $50,000. What if it's $100 an acre? Well, that's $10,000. What if it's $10? It's still $1,000. We don't know what it's going to be. But what we got to do is be prepared for that. You cannot be on the hook for the taxes on a yearly basis for that 100 acres. You cannot. They must pay for it, and that language better be ironclad. You don't want to get $100,000 a year from a solar agreement and use all that money to pay taxes. You don't want to get $100,000 and use $20,000, $10,000, $50,000. None of it. So you need to negotiate it and have it done right. It is complicated. Mistakes will cost. They will cost for decades. Decades. That's why you need to be careful with any contract that you're entering into for your property. And also hey, listen, I'm telling you be careful because you need to be careful. But at the same time, again, I am optimistic about these. I'm enjoying working on these solar leases. I think this is a great thing if this thing can develop and we can do it properly. I think this has great potential. It has great potential for clients, Pennsylvania landowners. I think this is a great thing, but we got to do it right. And we have to learn, and boy, we should have, from gas leasing mistakes. We can't make solar leasing mistakes. Why would we think that the people from the solar companies are going to approach you and do things with a different approach than what the gas company is? Maybe they will. But I can tell you this, these contracts, these leases, these option agreements must be negotiated. Put the pen down if you get these. Call me, 570-307-0702. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Join me each and every week at this time on this station. Call the office, 570-307-0702. I'll be right back. We got one more segment. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember to join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. Pretty excited. Been doing the show now for 10 years. Good news. I'm not going away. We're going to continue to do the show. And especially with Tioga County, I'm telling you guys, I am really anticipating big activity as far as interaction with the companies, especially Seneca, Shore Rockdale, over the next, say, 6 months and year. Just remember this. I have talked about how I felt that many, including many, saying hundreds of leases in Tioga County, in my opinion, have terminated. I also believe that when SWEPI, these are rough numbers, bought all of these leases and assets from East Resources back around 2010 or 11, they paid around $4.5 billion. They then went on and sold these assets for roughly $500 million. That is a $4 billion loss. Now we have gas prices going down, a lot of other things have happened, but that's a $4 billion loss. Again, these are rough numbers. Why would there be such a big difference in numbers? Certainly gas prices are a factor. Geology may be a factor. But another factor, I'm convinced entirely. Another factor is that many of these leases that SWEPI was claiming to hold are not valid leases, that they have terminated, that the company cannot maintain the leases as they're currently written. So they can release or surrender them. They can do that on their own, but we saw that SWEPI wasn't doing that. They may release or surrender when we fight them or challenge them, which I'm getting ready to do and looking forward to doing. Or they may approach you and say, hey, we want you to sign this document. And that document may not be titled in any way. And in fact, I suspect it won't, because I know they listen to the radio show. So they probably won't put the word ratification in the title of the document they ask you to sign. But when you get any document, when you are asked to sign anything from Seneca, from Rockdale, or any oil and gas company, call my office, 570-307-0702. Call. Don't be afraid. Call. It's what we do. I love representing Pennsylvania landowners. I love it. Growing up in Armstrong County, Airport Road, dad and grandparents, steelworkers, farmers, I love it. This has been the ultimate gift for me, as far as a gift of work, as far as me getting able to do something I love and helping people and making my living doing it. It's been amazing. I'm very, very fortunate. I'm very lucky. And I mean it. I love what I do. So when you get an agreement, put the pen down. I hope you call me. But if you don't call me, call someone who knows what they're doing. But you can call me at 570-307-0702. I talk about them all the time, these reviews and consultations. Same thing with the solar lease, pipeline agreements, gas line, gas lease, every type of agreement. But the solar, just as an example, recently review and consultation pointed out all of these different issues. And again, it's very common where somebody says, wow, I hadn't thought of that. I didn't know that. I wasn't thinking about that. The reviews and consultations usually take 1 to 2 hours. That's the usual max time. So if you're thinking about signing a document, any of these gas leases, pipelines, any of them, you should be taking, in my opinion, the hour or two and at least doing a review and consultation to make sure that what you're signing is the best thing that you can do and that there's nothing that you're not unaware of, that you're not signing a document that doesn't give you liability protection. You can't do that. You don't want to sign that. So take the hour or two, put the pen down, learn get representation, somebody working for you, somebody who wants to help you, not somebody who's working for the company who wants to help the company. We want to help you. I want to help you. Put down the pen, 570-307-0702. Give me a call. And remember, listen each and every week at this time on this station Doug Clark, All Things Marcellus. So again, I want to stay on this as we come to the close of the show. I really can't say it enough. If there was some way that I could stand on a mountaintop and just scream to all the people in Tioga, don't sign any document relative to your gas lease or pipeline without getting a review and consultation or understanding what you're signing. Now, we have these W-9s that were sent out. There's different reasons that people, a lot of people may want to sign, some people may not. Okay, I'm not going to give specific advice to that. But the W-9 is nowhere near the ratification implications. And again, the document is most likely not going to have the word ratification written across the top of it, because that's a buzzword that I am talking about each and every week on the radio show. It's going to probably be buried in a way that's very difficult to decipher. And thankfully, we know this, and we're not going to fall for it. We're not going to sign a document that has ratification language in it, because if you're not, here's one reason, because you're frustrated, because you signed a gas lease in the year 2000 to 2006, and here you are, you've never received a dime. Don't let the company play off your frustration by saying something like, well, Sweppy was a bad actor. They didn't do anything. We're different. We want to get you royalties. We're the good guys. We are the good guys. So in order to get you royalties, we just need to have you sign this paperwork. Oh, yeah, it seems, really stinky, crappy that Sweppy held you all this time, didn't give you royalties. So, what, we're good guys. We're going to offer you $50 an acre, $500, a couple $1,000. I don't know what they're going to say, but we're going to offer you this, and you sign this document, we're going to give you this free money and we're going to get rolling again. And we just want to say, hey, we're coming in with a clean slate and want you to think good of us. So, oh, wow, hey, that sounds great. Yeah, I was really frustrated with SWEPI. I've been shut in for 10 years, 8 years, 9 years. So, yeah, where do I sign? Where do I sign? I like this. You guys seem great. Well, you might have just signed the ratification. You probably did. You might have had the ability to renegotiate a whole lease. You might have had the ability to get $1,000 an acre. You might have had $1,500, maybe $500. I don't know yet. Maybe you could have got 15% royalty, maybe higher. Maybe you could have cut deductions or eliminated deductions. Maybe you could have got better pipeline terms, better shut-in terms. Maybe you could have did all kinds of things. But you'll never know. You'll never know because you just signed. You didn't put down the pen. Put down the pen. Tioga County, get ready. The next wave, I fully expect, will have ratifications through them. And it's going to be very, very interesting. And you know how you do not make a mistake? You take a step back. You don't jump in. You listen, you step back, and you call. That's what you do. Find out your rights. Do not make a mistake that may live for many decades. Don't leave these hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, or even thousands on the table. Maximize these. And I'm going to tell you, I see opportunity in Tioga County. I see landowner opportunity. I see opportunity to challenge dead leases. I see the opportunity to renegotiate dead leases. I see the opportunity for solar. I see a lot of opportunity. And the key is for you in Tioga County to maximize this opportunity, to learn from prior mistakes or prior dealings, even if they weren't mistakes, and maximize these opportunities because they're coming. They are coming. Pipeline agreements, surface use agreements, reclamation agreements, amendments, ratifications. They are coming. And we're going to be ready for it because you're going to have on your refrigerator the number 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. We need to make sure we're prepared, and thankfully, we are. So when we get these documents, we're going to listen, and then we're going to call. We're going to call Doug Clark, 570-307-0702, and we're going to maximize it, and we're not going to make mistakes. And if we have a dead lease, we're going to know it's dead, or we're going to know why we think it's dead. And we're going to handle it in the best way for us and for our family. And we have that opportunity, and we're prepared to do it. And I'm pretty excited about it. I really am, because I truly believe that over the next year, Tioga County is going to see some really interesting things. We're going to see some really interesting opportunities. I believe that we're going to be able to cancel leases and renegotiate leases that are already dead. I believe that. So keep on listening each and every week to me, Attorney Doug Clark, the Clark Law Firm, on this station at this time each and every week. Again, write down the number, 570-307-0702, so you can call when this starts happening. And check out the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Go to the websites. And remember, if you can't join the show each and every week, I post the shows on the website, pagasleaseattorney.com. So, wrapping it up, what do we want to know? I, Doug Clark, have not, do not, and will not represent gas or pipeline companies. The landman works for the gas company, not you, the landowner. Put down the pen, pick up the phone, and most importantly, join me each week. Most importantly, have a great week, everyone. See you next week.